What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 50. Phase 2. Thursday. Day 137. Professor Peach's dust class had just ended, and many students were heading to the mess hall. Deku had walked up to Professor Peach's desk. "Hello Mr. Midoriya. What can I do for you?" Peach asked. "I was just wondering if now would be a good time for those catch-up lessons you mentioned," Deku asked. Professor Peach was a bit confused at first, but then figured out what he meant. Not right now. I have a few things to take care of," Peach said with blush. Deku wondered why Peach was blush, and she seemed to be looking past him. "Oh, okay. Another time then?" Deku asked. "Of course. In fact, I'll be done in the evening, so you can come see me then if you are free," Peach said. "I am, so I will see you later then," Deku said. "Goodbye." "Oh, just one more thing," Peach said. "What is it?" Deku asked. "Would you be so kind as to knock on the door to the classroom?" Deku then left the classroom, but as he did, he saw that Cobalt was still in the classroom. Deku began to wonder why Cobalt was staying behind. Deku entered the mess hall, grabbed some food and then sat down with his team. "That was quick. I thought you would have been there much longer," David said. "I thought so too, but Professor Peach and some things to take care of," Deku said. "Why did you say it like that?" Evelyn asked. "That's exactly what she said to me." "I don't know why she said it so weirdly," Deku asked. "It's probably because she had to take care of a few lady things and didn't want to tell you outright," Jack said. "It is possible that's just it, but I'm sure I saw her cheeks going red, and before I left she asked me to knock on the classroom door when I return later on. Also, as I was leaving, I saw that Cobalt was still in the room," Deku said. "Well, the most efficient way of finding an answer to your question is to ask directly. However, since Professor Peach and Cobalt are unavailable, perhaps you could ask Blaze," Penny said. "You're right. I'm going to go ask her before this eats my brain," Deku said. Deku then left to go talk to Blaze. "You know, I just thought of a reason why Professor Peach and Cobalt are alone," Evelyn said. "Evelyn? This isn't one of your porno scenarios." "Cobalt and Professor Peach are not having sex," Jack said. "Come on though. What else could it be?" Evelyn asked. Deku then walked up to the table Blaze was sitting at. "Hey Blaze, can I bother you for a moment?" Deku asked. "Oh, hey Izuku. What is it?" Blaze asked. "When I left Professor Peach's classroom, I saw Cobalt was still there and Professor Peach was acting weird," Deku said. Deku then noticed that Blaze and some other students on the same table were blushing. "What's that matter?" Deku asked. "Oh, it's nothing really. It's just," Blaze said. "Just what?" Deku asked. "I may or may not have been keeping Cobalt from his studies and he's fallen behind," Blaze said. "I see. I'm sorry for bothering you and asking. It's just that things seemed a bit weird and secretive," Deku said. "Oh, that's because Cobalt wants to keep this a secret, but it's not really a secret," Blaze said. "Okay. I'll see you around then," Deku said. "See you," Blaze said. Deku then left the table. "Who was that?" a girl with purple hair asked. "That was Izuku Midoriya, Lilac. He's part of that poly relationship I told you about," Blaze said. "Ah. I must say he's not like anything I imagined." "He's," Lilac said. "He's a cutie. I might just have to sink my teeth into him," a girl with black hair and green highlights said. "Careful, Isabella, his Faunus girlfriend is very territorial, and they haven't opened their relationship up yet," Blaze said. "I can wait," Isabella said. "What makes you so sure they'll do so?" "They might not," a tall boy with black hair said. "Oh, they will. I'm sure of it," Blaze said. Deku then returned to his team. "So, what was her answer?" Penny asked. She said it was for Cobalt to catch up after Blaze distracted him from studying. "But she was also acting weird," Deku said. I told you. It's a prono, Evelyn said. Deku entered his team's dorm room to see Jack reading on her bed. Deku wanted to train his semblance more with her help, but after learning what he did, he wasn't sure if he should ask. What do you want, Izuku? Jack asked. Deku said. You've been staring at me for quite a while. Is there something you need? Jack asked. Well, there is something, but I'm not sure now is a good time, Deku said. Let me be the judge of that, Jack said. Okay then. Well, you see, I want to practice more with my semblance, and since you're the only one who's used it so far. But I don't know if you'd be up for it, since Deku said. Jack said, blushing. Don't worry about. I'll leave you be, Deku said. No, it's, fine, Jack said. You sure? Deku asked. Yeah. So we're just going to be practicing getting one for all coursing through my body, right? Jack asked. Yes. Best to start out small and work our way up, Deku said. Alright. Guide me through the process if you'd please, Jack said. Okay. Before we do anything, Deku said. Deku's face then started to go red. Izuku. What's wrong? Jack asked. Before we start, I need to see your body, Deku said. Jack yelled. Not completely naked, of course. I just need to see your muscles, Deku said. But why? Jack asked. Remember, one for all takes a huge toll on the body if you go past your limit. I need to have a good look at your body to estimate a limit for you. Also, it can damage your clothes, so I'd suggest choosing something you don't mind losing, Deku said. I see. It's probably for the best. I don't want to go back to the infirmary yet or lose my best set, Jack said. Right. Now, do you have anything more revealing? I'll need to see everything. Apart from your, Deku said. I know what you mean. Just give me a minute to change into my workout clothes, Jack said. Okay, Deku said. Jack then grabbed some clothes and entered the bathroom. Deku decided to sit down on his bed whilst waiting for Jack to change. As he waited, his mind began to fill with thoughts, all thoughts about Jack. Did he really like Jack? He did that dream about her. Okay. I'm done, Jack said, leaving the bathroom. Deku looked up, and immediately regretted his decision to do so. Jack was wearing quite the revealing set of gym clothes. She was only wearing a black sports bra, which showed some of her cleavage, and black sports bottoms, which showed quite a lot of her rear. Izuku, Jack said. Oh, sorry, Jack. I just didn't think you'd wear something that like that, Deku said. He was going to say tight. I knew these were too small, Jack thought. Well, these are the clothes I would wear when working out when I was in Vacuo, since it's so hot there and I prefer not to have my clothes drenched in my sweat. But it appears that I've started to grow out of them, which is good, I guess, since these might be destroyed, Jack said. Right. Now let's get started, Deku said. Deku then began to look over Jack's body. As he did so, Jack felt a wave of embarrassment flow over her. Alright, from my examination, I'd say you'd be able to handle 10% of one for all, Deku said. Only 10%, Jack asked. Hey, that's much better than me. I could only handle 5% in the beginning. I am also lowballing your limit just to be safe, Deku said. Makes sense, I guess. So how do I power up, as you say, Jack asked. Well, first we need to get my semblance to work. I think I have a good enough understanding of it now. First, I need to will for you to use it, which is easy enough. As for you, just do what you did last time, Deku said. So, I need to get angry, Jack said. Yep. Shouldn't be too hard, just think of Evelyn, Deku said. Jack laughed. Okay. I'm ready to start, Jack said. So am I, Deku said. Deku then grabbed Jack's arms and closed his eyes, with Jack doing the same. Alright. Let's start at 1%. You can do that, right? Deku asked. Yep, Jack said. Jack opened her eyes to find she was in the void. She looked around and saw a tall bald man standing in front of her. You've got a fire in you, kid. But don't let that fire become wild, you need to keep it contained if you're going to use my power. Are you ready? The man asked. Jack nodded. Good, the man said. Red lines soon began to appear around Jack before vanishing as blue lightning started emanating from her body. Jack and Deku then opened their eyes. Wow, Jack said. Good job, Jack. Now, just be sure not to let your angry boil over, or you'll lose control of Black Whip, Deku said. Deku then held his right palm up to display Black Whip, but nothing happened. Huh? Why isn't Black Whip working? Deku asked. I don't think now is the time for you to have performance issues, Jack said. Oh, shut up, Deku said. Jack and Deku laughed. But for real, why isn't Black Whip working for you now? Jack asked. Deku closed his eyes and focused. He then noticed something different about himself and Jack. I might have one idea. Jack, you see David's weapon case? Deku said. Yeah. What about it? Jack asked. Hold your hand out towards it and think, I want to capture that, Deku said. Okay, Jack said. Jack did as she was told. All of a sudden Black Whip came out from Jack's arm and latched onto David's weapon case. What the? Jack said. As I thought, Deku said. What do you mean? Jack asked. I believe the connecting between me and you right now is done via aura, Deku said. Okay. And what does that have to do with you not being able to use Black Whip? Jack asked. Because you now have Lariat's aura, Deku said. How? Jack said. Jack then focused and realized she did have another aura pool. What is this semblance? Jack asked. A pretty terrible one, if someone normal had it, Deku said. Jack laughed and so did Deku. Jack looked at Deku whilst he was laughing. She liked watching him laugh. Jack then suddenly felt light on her feet. Okay, now let's find your limit, Deku said. Alright, Jack said. Meanwhile outside Team JPDDE's dorm room. We'll start off slow and work our way up. Inch by inch, Deku said. Little by little, Jack said. Right. We'll go at your pace, Deku said. Okay, Jack said. Jack then slowly increased 1 for all to 10%. Alright, I'm at 10%, Jack said. Okay. Do you feel any pain at all? Or even just uncomfortable? Deku asked. Nope. I feel just fine, Jack said. Then let's keep going, Deku said. Right, Jack said. Just remember. Stop if you feel any pain, Deku said. I will, Jack said. Jack then increased to 15% and then to 20%. Deku. I think I reached my limit. It's starting to hurt, Jack said. Alright. Bring it down, Deku said. Jack did so. Gods, if that's the pain you feel at 20%, I can't imagine how much pain 100% is, Jack said. You don't want to know. You're lucky that the adrenaline kept you from feeling all the pain before you passed out, Deku said. Yeah. I'm glad too, Jack said. Meanwhile outside. What are you two doing? David asked. Penny and Evelyn had their ears placed against the door to their room. We're listening, can't you see? Evelyn said. But what are you listening to? This is our room, David said. We're listening to Jack and Ijuku, Penny said. Why? David asked. Because they are being sexual, Evelyn said. What? Are you on drugs? David asked. No. Tell him what you heard, Penny, Evelyn said. I heard Ijuku say, we'll start off slow and work our way up. Inch by inch, and Jack say, little by little, Penny said. So? They are probably just working on Deku's semblance like they said they would, David said. Then explain why I heard Jack say it hurts, Evelyn said. Because 1-4 has backlash. Honestly, by the way you two are talking, it sounds like you want Jack to join us, David said. I guess you're right. But I'm still gonna tease them about this. You do have a recording of this, right, Penny, Evelyn asked. Affirmative, Penny said. David chuckled. Come on you two, let's leave them alone. Nothing of that sort is happening, David said. Jack yelled. Jack. Loosen up, you're hurting me, Deku said. Easy for you to say. This is normal for you, Jack, yet? Not yet. I've only done it once before, Deku said. You were saying, Evelyn said. David then moved to open the door. See, nothing of the sort is happening, David said. The sight before David was something he was not expecting. Jack was up on Deku's shoulders with her legs wrapped around his head. Deku's hands were holding on to Jack's legs. Here, David said. Hey. What the hell are you two doing, Evelyn asked. Deku and Jack then looked over to the three of them. Jack then began to cry. Jack then suddenly felt her weight coming back. She began to fall, bring Deku down with her. Jack hit the floor with an almighty thud and thus was now unconscious. Mind telling us what happened, Penny asked. Jack used float instead of black whip. End of story, Deku said. Deku then stood up and began to walk off. Where are you going, Evelyn asked. For a long walk and maybe a cold shower in the locker room. Please see to it that Jack is okay, Deku said. We will, David said. Deku then left the room. You got all that on video, right, Evelyn asked. Affirmative, Penny said. Deku had arrived back at Professor Peach's classroom. Deku knocked on the door and waited for Professor Peach to answer. Deku heard some sort of commotion coming from inside that classroom. Professor Peach and Cobalt then came out into the hallway. They both looked quite disheveled. Apologies, Izuku. I'd seemed to have lost track of time, Peach said. It's alright. Me and Cobalt do have different units to catch up on. We won't learn anything whilst you're trying to teach us two different things at the same time, Deku said. Yes, right, Peach said. Cobalt, if you ever need some notes from recent classes, feel free to ask, Deku said. Thanks. I will, Cobalt said. Shall we proceed with our lesson, Izuku? Glinda's curfew will be approaching sooner than you think, Peach said. Right. See you around, Cobalt, Deku said. See you, Cobalt said. Professor P and Deku then entered her classroom. Deku smelled a weird smell in the air. He assumed that Professor Peach and Cobalt had done an experiment which caused the weird smell. So, what do you want to know about, Deku asked. I don't really know. I have so many questions and I don't know where to start, Peach said. Professor Peach then sat on her desk, and for some reason Deku was starting to find her very attractive. So I was thinking. Why don't you pick the subject? You're the teacher in this situation, Peach said. Right. Well, since you're a scientist, I guess we'll start with our advances in science, Deku said. Wonderful. I'm so excited to hear about your world's scientific advancements, Peach said, bouncing up and down and clapping her hands, causing Deku to blush. Well, I guess I should start by saying that in some aspects Remnant is more advanced, and the same can be said for Earth, Deku said. So your planet is named Earth, after the land surface. Why is that, Peach asked. Because it's the globally accepted term for our planet. Many cultures in the past had different names of our planet, but now everyone just calls it Earth. It's neutral enough so it would cause any animosity between nations, Deku said. The nations of your world would really argue over something like that, Peach asked. Well, imagine if a foreign power came in and told you that what you call things are wrong and they are right, Deku said. I see your point. Speaking of, how many nations are there, Peach asked. Well, it depends on who you ask, but we're getting off topic, Deku said. Right. Sorry, Peach said. It's alright. As I was saying, Remnant and Earth both surpass each other in certain aspects, Deku said. Mind giving an example, Peach asked. One such difference is the way the communication networks are set up. For example, Remnant has 4 towers that cover almost all of Remnant, but does leave some dead spots, whilst on Earth we have hundreds smaller towers that all connect to each other and to satellites, providing a network to every corner of the planet. But I guess that due more to the fact that the Grim destroy human creations and that there are only 4 safe places for such things, Deku said. What's a satellite? Peach asked. It's an artificial body placed in orbit round the Earth or Moon or another planet in order to collect information or for communication, Deku said. Fascinating, you've managed to leave your planet. It's amazing, Peach said. Really? We've been doing it since the late 1950s, Deku said. Professor Peach was stunned silent. I have no idea how long ago that was, but from how you said it, it must have been a long time ago, Peach said. A very long time ago. I'm more surprised that. Oh, wait, dust stops working when leaving the atmosphere, Deku said. It does indeed. It's a shame, really. If we could get one of these satellites up in space, then it would be safe from being destroyed by the Grim, Peach said. Well, sadly your world is built using dust. It would take a lot of research and development for Remnant to achieve space flight, Deku said. Wait. You think we can get into space? Peach asked. Of course you could. Remnant has everything it needs to get into space. All that you really need is to produce a non-dust based fuel source, Deku said. That might be easier said than done. No kingdom would take the time, or provide the funding for such a thing considering what we have now works, Peach said. For now, at least, Deku said. It's a real shame dust doesn't work in space, Peach said. Deku then began to ponder. What's the matter? Peach asked. It's just that, technically rocket fuel doesn't work in space either, Deku said. Then how? Peach asked. For rocket fuel to work, an oxidizer needs to be mixed in or introduced to cause the fuel to burn, thus providing the thrust needed. Perhaps dust is the same way, Deku said. Deku then walked up to the chalkboard. Since I'm, still alive, our world must have a similar composition in the atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere is composed of approximately 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.93% argon, 0.04% carbon dioxide, as well as trace amounts of neon, helium, methane, krypton, ozone and hydrogen, as well as water vapor, Deku said, writing it down on the chalkboard. Where are you going with this? Peach asked. Well, for combustion, you need oxygen. What if dust is the same? What if dust uses one of these elements to produce the effects of the dust? Since energy cannot be created or destroyed, something must be consumed, Deku said. That's an interesting theory. I wish I had thought of such a thing, Peach said, as she was looking over Deku, her hands on his shoulders and her chest being placed on his head, causing Deku to blush. I think it's time for an experiment, Peach said. Professor Peach then went over to a cabinet. She opened it and bent over, sticking her butt into the air. Deku blushed at the sight, but he blushed even more as her skirt rode up and showed she wasn't wearing anything down there. Home. Where is it? Peach asked, unintentionally shaking her rear. Deku looked away from her and decided to focus on something on Professor Peach's desk, but as he looked at her desk, he saw black laced underwear which were evidently hers. Deku's face went completely red, and he looked up at the ceiling. Ah, there it is, Peach said. Professor Peach then carried a large box and placed it on her desk. This is my vacuum chamber. With this we will be able to test your theory, Peach said. Professor Peach then noticed Deku looking up at the ceiling and his face was red. Is everything alright? Peach asked. I'm fine. I'm just feeling a bit hot, Deku said. Professor Peach was confused by Deku's response, until she saw a bulge in Deku's suit and her underwear. She quickly grabbed them and stuffed them in her lab coat. I see. Now that you mention it, it is quite hot in here, Peach said. Deku then took his eyes off the ceiling to look at Professor Peach, but that was a mistake. Professor Peach had unbuttoned the top of her shirt and was using her shirt to fan herself. I'll open and window, Peach said. Professor Peach then walked over to a window, swaying her hips as she did. God, I want to fuck you, Deku said. Deku quickly covered his mouth. Why did I say that, Deku thought. I do too, Ijuku. But that's just the aphrodisiac talking, Peach said. Professor Peach then opened a window, letting in fresh air. She took a deep breath. Or is it, Peach thought. Professor Peach then walked back to her desk. Are you feeling any better, Peach asked. Much better, Deku said. Good. Now let's start the experiment, but first. What dust type should we use, Peach asked. I'd say we should use wind dust. It's safe enough to no cause any damage to the vacuum chamber if the dust works, Deku said. A perfect decision. Let's start, Peach said. Professor Peach then put a wind dust crystal in the vacuum chamber and activated it, taking all the air out of the chamber. Alright, all the air has been sucked out of the chamber. Ijuku. Would you like to do the honors, Peach said. Yes please, Deku said. Deku then put his arms through the built-in gloves of the vacuum chamber and grabbed the dust crystal. He then tried to use the dust crystal, but nothing happened. Professor Peach then got very close to Deku, her chest pressing against his back. Deku could tell she did not have a bra on. Interesting. So, your theory is correct. There's something in the atmosphere that allows dust crystals to function. That means if we find out what allows dust crystals to work, we could achieve space travel quite easily. I'm about to have a science orgasm, Peach said. Please. Please don't, Deku said. Right. We still have more testing to do, Peach said. The two of them continued to test. Well, they weren't the results I was hoping for, Peach said. Well, at least we learned something. There's something else in the atmosphere that we don't know about, and it appears to be mixed in with all the elements in the atmosphere. That's the only way dust would not work in a vacuum but does work with every other element, Deku said. But sadly, this doesn't get us any closer to space travel, Peach said. There's a saying on Earth. Rome wasn't built in a day. We may not have gotten any closer to space travel today, but who's to say we won't in the future, Deku said. You're right. We've only just started, but unfortunately that's all we can do for today. Glinda's curfew is soon, you better head back to your dorm room, and don't worry about helping me tidy up, I'll take care of it, Peach said. Alright. I'll see you tomorrow, Deku said. See you, Peach said, blowing him a kiss. Deku blushed. Why did she do that, Deku thought. Why did I do that, Peach thought. Deku then left the classroom. What is wrong with me, Deku thought. Not again. I can't allow this to continue. But I need some relief, Peach said. Peach then left her classroom and entered her teacher's dorm room. Haven't been here in a while. I've missed coming here, Peach said. Peach then grabbed something from a drawer. I've got to be quick. Titania doesn't like waiting, Peach said. Peach then plopped on the bed and began to undress as she thought about Deku. Meanwhile, Deku was thinking about Professor Peach whilst in the shower. Fuck, Deku said. Friday. Day 138. As Team JPDE were getting ready for school, Jack then approached Deku. Hey, Ijuku. I wanted to apologize for what happened yesterday, Jack said, blushing. Oh, it's alright, Jack. You don't need to apologize. You were frightened, I can't blame you for that, Deku said. Thanks. Gods, that was so embarrassing. I can't believe Jack said. Screamed like a girl, Deku asked. Yes, Jack said. Don't be embarrassed by your scream. It was nida cute, Deku said. Jack's face went completely red. On the other side of the room, Evelyn and Penny looked at the two of them with smug faces. After classes had ended for the day, Titania approached Deku. Hey, Izuku, Titania said. Hey, Titania. Is there something you need, Deku asked. Not really. I was just wondering if you had the time for that cooking lesson, Titania asked. Oh, yeah, sure, I have time today, Deku said. Great, Titania said. So, what do you want to make, Deku said. A cake, Titania said. Alright. We will need to head into Vale first to get the ingredients for a cake, Deku said. Lead the way, Titania said. Deku and Titania then headed into Vale. So what kind of cake do you want to make, Deku asked. A strawberry and cream sponge cake, Titania said. I see. Are strawberries your favorite, Deku asked. I do like strawberries, but I wouldn't say they're my favorite, Titania said. Okay, so why the strawberry and cream sponge cake, Deku asked. Because they're Mom's favorite. And I want to thank her for looking after me, Titania said. Deku chuckled. Why are you laughing? Can't I thank my mom, Titania asked. That's not why I'm laughing. It's just that Ruby also likes strawberries. They are so similar, yet Ruby doesn't get along with her, Deku said. They don't, Titania asked. Well, it's more like Ruby doesn't like seeing an adult act like her, Deku said. Hey. It's like a parent copying their child to stop them acting up, Titania said. Titania sighed. It must be nice having a loving family growing up, Titania said. Right. She has Mercury's memories, Deku thought. Well, there's always time to make good memories with your new mom, Deku said. Titania smiled. Now come on. We've got a cake to make for dinner, Deku said. Right, let's get the ingredients and make the best cake in the world, Titania said. A while later, Deku and Titania had gotten everything they needed and had gone to the kitchen in Team JPDDE's room. Alright. Let's start baking a cake, Deku said. Okay. Where do we start, Titania asked. We start by washing our hands and putting on an apron. You don't want to give Professor Peach any laundry to do today, Deku said. Definitely not, Titania said. The two of them then put an apron on and washed their hands. Alright. Now the first step to baking is to get the amount of ingredients right. Too much or too little of anything can seriously alter how the food tastes. I know from first-hand experience due to Jack's pancakes, Deku said. About that, what exactly was wrong with her pancakes, Titania asked. She had put too much cinnamon in her pancakes, but it wasn't her fault really, Deku said. How so, Titania asked. There are two types of cinnamon that can be bought. One is several times more powerful than the other. So when Jack went to put the cinnamon in her pancakes, she put the amount needed for the less powerful kind when he had the more powerful one, Deku said. I see. Guess I should be on the lookout for that type of thing, Titania said. If you want to make something that is actually edible, Deku said. Well, I do, Titania said. Then let's start by measuring the ingredients, Deku said. Deku then opened a cookbook and turned to the recipe for strawberry and cream sponge cake. Alright. First measure out, Deku said. Deku and Titania then measured out all the ingredients, and afterwards they them together and then put the batter into the oven to bake. So, what do we do now, Titania asked. Well, we could clean up, or Deku said. Or what, Titania asked. Or we could eat the leftover cake batter, Deku said, holding a spoon covered in batter up to her. Are you sure? What if I messed up, Titania asked. Well, there's only one way to find out, Deku said. Deku then ate some batter off the spoon. Well, how does it taste? It's bad, isn't it, Titania said. You have nothing to worry about, Titania. You haven't poisoned me. It tastes good, Deku said. Phew. I thought I was going to kill you with my baking, Titania said. Well, you didn't, so enjoy some batter, Deku said. Deku then shoved the spoon into Titania's mouth. Titania's eyes lit up after tasting the batter. She quickly took the spoon and the bowl and quickly ate all the batter. It was that good, huh? Deku asked. Yep, Titania said. Deku then noticed a piece of batter on Titania's cheek. Hold still, Titania, Deku said. Huh? What is it? Titania asked. Deku then wiped the batter off her face and ate it, causing Titania to blush. You had a bit of batter on your cheek, Deku said. Ah, thanks, Titania said. The two of them then cleaned up as they waited for the cake to rise. Afterwards the two put the final touches on the cake. Thanks again for teaching me, Titania said. It's alright. If you ever need help again, you know where to find me, Deku said. I will, Titania said. And are you sure you want to leave half of the cake with us? Deku asked. Yes. All of you helped me make new, better, memories. I want to thank you all for that. And apologize before my previous behavior, Titania said. I'm sure they'll accept your apology, Deku said. I hope so. Anyway, goodbye, Izuku, Titania said. Bye, Deku said. Titania then left the room and headed to Peach's classroom to give her the cake. Deku and Penny were currently in the gym. Deku had asked Penny if she could spot him since she didn't need to work out, though she did do some exercises to keep her cover. However, Penny was being quite perverted. She was doing everything to get a rise out of Deku. Currently she was grinding on Deku as he was bench pressing. Penny. What has gotten into you? Deku asked. I'm sorry, Izuku. Are you not interested in Penny? Asked. Oh, no, I am. I definitely am. I'm just wondering why you're doing this here in public, Deku asked. Well, after seeing them two, I couldn't help myself. And technically, we're not in public since it's only us four in here and they don't seem to care, Penny said. Huh, Deku said. Penny then pointed behind herself. Deku then saw that Blaze was doing the same thing Penny was doing to him, but took a bolt. I see. So, do you want to hit the shower together? Deku asked. Affirmative, Penny said. Alright, let me just clean up and I'll join you in the shower, Deku said. I'll be ready for your arrival, Penny said. Penny then kissed Deku and got off him. As she walked away, she lifted up her skirt and ass. She then let go of her ass, letting it jiggle on full display to Deku. Don't keep me waiting, Penny said. Penny then left the gym. Deku then began to clean up, as he did Blaze and Cobalt left the gym. Deku then soon left the gym and headed for the showers. As he entered the showers, he could hear moaning. There were two steamy showers next to each other. Deku could make out two figures in the left shower. He assumed that Blaze and Cobalt were in there, so he headed for the right shower. However, things would not turn as he expected. Deku entered the shower and grabbed onto Penny and began to kiss her with his eyes closed. Things soon got even steamier in the shower. Ah! That was amazing, Deku and Penny said. Deku then realized something, that wasn't Penny's voice. Deku opened his eyes to see Blaze, at the same time Blaze opened her eyes to see Deku. The two just stared at each other whilst they tried to process what just happened. Hi Izuku, Blaze said. Hi. Blaze, Deku said. So? That happened, Blaze said. Yeah. And since we're in here, Penny and Cobalt are, Deku said. Fuck me, Blaze said. Already did, Deku said. Hey. And it was a good fuck at that, Blaze said. I have to admit it was, but I think we should stop them, Deku said. Let's let them finish first, I don't want to blue ball Cobalt. And besides they seem to be enjoying themselves, Blaze said. The two of them then heard two long moans, indicating they had reached their climax. Deku and Blaze then left the shower. "Hey Cobalt, how does Penny feel?" Blaze asked. Cobalt's and Penny's eyes then shot open. The two stared at each other, before screaming. They tried to move away from each other but ended up slipping and falling onto each other. "You know, if you two want to keep going we could leave you to it," Deku said. "Izuku, this is no time for jokes. I just had intercourse with Cobalt," Penny said. "Yes, we can see that," Blaze said. "To answer your question, Blaze, she feels amazing." "You're very lucky to have her, Izuku," Cobalt said. "I know," Deku asked. "How can you three be so calm about this?" Penny asked. "Because I fucked Blaze, and I can't really fuck her now, can I?" Deku said. "No," Penny said. "And we've been having sex with others after 1 month at Beacon." "Sure, we didn't plan on fucking either of you two, but we can't change the past," Blaze said. "I guess you're right," Penny said. "Penny, now that you've calmed down, would you mind getting off me?" Cobalt asked. "Oh, right. Sorry," Penny said. Penny then got off Cobalt. "Cobalt, did you just call my girlfriend heavy?" Deku asked. No," Cobalt said. "But you were thinking it," Deku said. "No comment," Cobalt said. "It's alright, Cobalt. I know I'm quite heavy." "Prosthetics aren't exactly light things," Penny said. "Oh gods, Penny, I'm extremely sorry," Cobalt said. "Like I said, it's alright," Penny said. "Okay, so now that we've all calmed down, what do we do next?" Deku asked. "Our next course of action should be to inform David and Evelyn on what happened," Penny said. "I think we should be there as well," Cobalt said. "Yeah, we all screwed up here," Deku said. "I just have one question though," Blaze said. "What is it?" Penny asked. "Have you come to a decision on opening up your relationship?" Blaze asked. "No," Penny and Deku said. "I see," Blaze said. "What is it?" Cobalt asked. "Well, even though this was a huge mistake, I don't want this to become a one-time thing. I want to go again, Izuku," Blaze said. "I must admit I do too." "What about you two?" Deku asked. "I would like to do Penny again, and possibly Evelyn as well," Cobalt said. "I must admit, Cobalt was very satisfying," Penny said. "So, if we all agree that we want to do this again, I think we should offer a chance for them to find out." "And I do want to find out what that David D do," Blaze said. The four of them then headed to Team JPDDE's dorm room and told David and Evelyn what happened. "How on Remnant did that happen?" David asked. "We believe that I entered the shower first, then Blaze went to enter next shower over. She realized she had left her towel behind and went back to get it, but due to the way the locker room is set out, she and Cobalt missed each other, so Cobalt entered my shower," Penny said. "And when I returned, I assumed that it was Penny and Izuku in the shower, so I entered the next shower," Blaze said. "Which led to me entering the shower Blaze was in," Deku said. "And we only realized after we had finished our first round," Cobalt said. "Wait, first round?" Evelyn asked. "Well, I think we would have gone longer if Izuku and Blaze didn't open their eyes. And to be full honest with you too, I do want to do Penny again," Cobalt said. "Same goes for me with Izuku." "And they also agree," Blaze said. "You do?" Evelyn and David asked. "Yeah," Deku said. "Affirmative," Penny said. "But we have come to a decision yet," David said. "Yet? The other reason why we're here is to offer you two a chance to see how you feel about it. There's no better time than now, really," Blaze said. "But," Evelyn said, "you can say no. We won't take any offense," Cobalt said. "It's not that. I just can't decide if I want to keep my partners to myself or let others join in," Evelyn said. "I think I can help make up your mind," Penny said. Penny then whispered into Evelyn's ears. Evelyn's face went fully red, and she began to fidget. "All right. I'm in," Evelyn said. That was a quick turnaround, David said. So, David, are you in or out? Deku said. Well, there's no point fighting a rising tide. I'm in, David said. Seems like we're all in agreement. Now let's get busy, Blaze said. Absolutely not, Jack yelled. Jack had listening in. There is no way whatsoever I'm going to allow you six to have sex in our room when I'm around, Jack said. Well, there are 2 beds that are currently free, Blaze said. Say no more, I'm going, Jack said. Jack then left for Team CBLT's room. Now let's make some noise, Blaze said. We'll be doing so much more than making some noise, Evelyn said. Jack soon arrived at Team CBLT's dorm and knocked on the door. Lilac answered the door. Hello, Lilac said. Hello, I'm Jacqueline B. Ivory, I believe we've met before. Anyways, Cobalt and Blaze and the rest of my team are going to have sex, so I'm staying here tonight. I suggest you two get to sleep soon if you want to function tomorrow, Jack said. Right. Teal. We've got a DEFCON 1, Lilac said. The 3 of them quickly managed to get to sleep just in time. Not again, Weiss yelled. Oh, fuck, Blaze yelled. This is unbelievable. The 6 of them all at the same time. One set of horny lovers was bad enough, but now 2 of them doing it now. Gods. It makes me want to go to their rooms to stop them, Weiss said. Weiss. I saw the 6 of them go into Team JPDDE's room, and only Jack came out, Blake said. You don't mean Weiss asked. Oh, Blaze, David said. You're so tight, Deku said. Well, I usually don't have a dick up my ass. Fuck. But that might change. Oh fuck, Blaze yelled. At least this is good news for you, Young said. What does that mean, Weiss asked. Oh, I think you know, Ice Queen. Trying to steal my boyfriend, Ruby said. I was not. I was showing my appreciation for him, Weiss said. Yeah, right. You're just jealous that I'll be do it before you, Ruby said. What Weiss said. I never expected to hear something like that come out of your mouth, Blake said. What happened to my innocent little sister, Young asked. She died the day of Cobalt's and Blaze's anniversary, Ruby said. Huh? How did you hear anything? You had headphones on, the same ones that stopped you from hearing a robbery, Young said. Well, I may have had them on, but I didn't have any music on, Ruby said. Then why were you wearing them, Weiss asked. To ignore you, Ruby said. What the, Weiss yelled. Fuck Cobalt. Your mouth is amazing, Penny yelled. Cobalt let out a moan that was so loud it could be heard even though it was muffled by Penny's ass. I think he likes my bunny style. I should turn it up, Evelyn yelled. Excuse me, Blake said. Blake then got into her bed and soon the rest of Team RWBY could hear her moan. Seriously, Weiss asked. Excuse me as well, Young said. Young then entered her bed. Hey. Only I can masturbate to my boyfriends, Ruby said. Ruby then jumped into her bed. You have got to be kidding me. Disgusting, Weiss said. Weiss then entered her bed. At least I'm not the one next door this time, a girl in a red and white uniform said. Oh, gods. You two are so big. I'm gonna come, Blaze yelled. So are we, Deku and David yelled. So the Loud Six have finally united, Nora said. Damn it, Nora Wren said. I wish I was Blaze, Pyrrha thought. Fuck Cobalt, you came so much, Evelyn said. I couldn't help it. You two are so thick, Cobalt said. Now it's my turn, Penny said. Penny and Evelyn then swapped places, and Penny increased the noise tenfold. Penny. You're breaking me, Cobalt said. Seems like they've made a decision, Minor said. The noise was so loud that the second years could hear it. Spank me, Ijuku, Blaze yelled. You're going to have to beg, Deku yelled. Yes. Pull my hair and spank me, Daddy, Blaze yelled. Oh, gods. Why do I want Izuku to do that to me, Velvet thought. God's damn boy, Toy Coco thought. Fuck Penny, I think you broke by dick, Cobalt yelled. I sure hope not. You've got Blaze's third hole to fill, Penny yelled. Kinky Isabella said. Bella, a very tall Amazonian woman, said. Meanwhile in Team CBLT's room, Jack, Lilac and Teal were all fast asleep and were the only ones to get some sleep that night, as the 6 horny teens went all through the night. Saturday. Day 139. The 6 horny teenagers finally stopped as the sun began to rise. Hey, Penny. Can I ask you something? Evelyn asked. What is it? Penny asked. You knew that it wasn't Izuku in shower with you, didn't you? Evelyn asked. And what if I did? Penny said. You made the best decision of your life, Evelyn said. Thanks, Penny said. Now. I'm gonna pass out, Evelyn said. Good night, Penny said. Evelyn was too tired to respond and soon passed out. Penny soon then went to sleep. Hours later they woke up, except for Evelyn. Cobalt and Blaze went back to their room. Penny was going for her checkup today, but this time David and Deku were going with her. Penny, are you ready? David asked. Just so, David. Izuku, are you ready? Penny asked. I'm all set, Deku said. Then let's head out. Papa and Seal await, Penny said. Huh? Seal too? David asked. Indeed. She's Papa's conscripted assistant, after all. It's only logical that she'd assist him in his scientific endeavors, Penny said. We should get going then. No sense in keeping them waiting, Deku said. The 3 of them then headed to the lab ship. Morning, Papa. Seal, Penny said. Good morning, David said. Morning, Deku said. Morning, sweetheart. Mr. Dikebegis and Mr. Midori are. So. I heard you two have made a habit of spying on my daughter in her undergarments, Enrico said. What? We did no such thing, David said, blushing. Yeah. Spying requires the one you watch to not know you're there, Deku said, blushing. Papa. Stop teasing my boyfriends like this, please, Penny said. Enrico laughed. Sorry, Penny. As a father, it's in the rules that I shall periodically remind any suitors of my sweetheart that I can put the fear of the gods into him with just a sentence, Enrico said. Oh. Well, if it's in the rules, then it's fine, Penny said. Oh. Whatever. Let's just get on with this, David said. If you'll strip to your plug suit and get into the cylinder, Patient Seal said. Penny did so and the checkup began. Izuku. David Seal said. Huh, yeah, Deku said. What is it? David asked. Has Penny been acting differently since she got her new body? Seal asked. Different how? David asked. Any different? Seal said. Well. Not that I can think of, David said. The only thing I can think of is. She has certainly become more bold, if you get what I mean, Deku said. I do. I expected a change like that to happen, Seal said. A while later Penny's checkup was over. Well, there's no problem that I can see, Enrico said. Really? But what about the luminous in her plug suit? Deku asked. That's just a consequence of one of Penny's subroutine softwares overtaking the plug suit's task. The red tinge is just a visualization of that happening, since the suit didn't know how else to do it, Enrico said. Oh. I see, David said. That's a relief to hear, Deku said. Yeah. Glad to hear. We were worrying over nothing, then David said. Well, I invite you to continue doing so as much as you'd like to, Mr. Dikebegis and Midori are. Anyway, Penny will see you two later, Enrico said. Wait. You mean you're not done? Deku asked. Well, we're done with the analysis of the plug suit, but there's still Penny's usual maintenance to go through, Enrico said. And that'll take a while. I'll see you two back at the dormitory as usual, Penny said. I see. We'll see you later then, Penny. Goodbye, Seal. Professor David said. Thanks for quelling our concerns, Deku said. You're welcome, and goodbye, Enrico said. Deku and David then left the lab ship. The mood in the lab then quickly changed. Penny. Are you absolutely sure you have recorded no changes whatsoever in your behavior patterns ever since? Enrico asked. Yes, Father, I'm absolutely sure, Penny said. I trust your boyfriend's judgment of this. They haven't detected any substantial changes in it, as well, Seal said. Then there's no breach in your systems. The machine tier overtook the plug suit because it had no fail-safes of sorts, but the mere fact it tried to, Enrico said. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Papa, what does it mean? Penny asked. It means that the machine tier may not wish to be the subconscious one any longer, Enrico said. But it's still part of me. Why? Penny asked. Exactly because in those 2 minutes you allowed it to experience command. It felt all of you, fully. For the first time. It was allowed to truly know your whole for the first time, Penny. Your weaknesses, strengths, desires and enemies. And it concluded that those would be all better protected with it in charge, Enrico said. But I don't want it to, Penny said. That's good. Because that's what stops it from doing anything. Your will is what's stopping it. And even if you used Senzafili again, it would need to obey the fail-safes and the directives you gave, Seal said. So the only risk is phase 2, Penny asked. Yes. By no means, you must never go into it, Penny. Phase 2 would put an ever-increasing amount of processing power into its hands. And heaven only knows what that could lead to, Enrico said. I understand, Father, Penny said. Penny. Please, never go that far. Ever, Seal said. End of chapter 50.